All right, we're live.
Yay!
So no Josh this week. I was telling Chuck he's on a plane. He just left here. So
John
Mm,
banished him.
yeah,
get out!
Yeah, I won't be here next week. So
Right,
I told him you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
exactly.
how was the conference?
It was good. It was real good. The first day it seemed like it was just going to be all fluff and not very good, like just very basic content. But then the second and third days just like blew my mind. It was just like some crazy stuff, like just really good strategy. I bought the videos from the conference. It was that good. Like they just had some ton of like just awesome stuff. Like the funnels that they have set up for their businesses are pretty fantastic. Like the way that they're getting paid ads and able to like get a return on those paid ads and make money off of the front end with the various offers. We're going to implement a lot of that stuff. There's just like we made a list of like probably like 50 ideas from the conference.
Nice.
Yeah, and they focused on like, and what's really cool about this conference is the digital marketer brand is sort of switching from like being hardcore direct marketing into having a balance between branding and direct marketing. And so, which is kind of cool because that's where Simple Programmer has been, is like
Right.
focusing on the brand as well as doing direct marketing. So we're kind of already like and this is where they're predicting that e-commerce is going to go. And so it's kind of cool to be already there and like already doing some of those things.
Mm,
And it's pretty exciting, like just the some of the concepts. Like I have a much bigger idea now of what is possible after seeing them. Like digital marketer has uh, they've got their digital marketing brand. They have this other like company that has all these web properties, like, and they're expanding it to like over 100, like all these different like survivallife.com and DIYprojects.com and makeuptutorials.com, all this stuff, and so they're making this huge company out of it, but it kind of puts in perspective like how much that simple programmer can still grow like in the programming space.
hmm
And then I just got a bunch of ideas for a lot of different things that we could really do, even like at the corporate level. Like check this out. So simple programmer, right, is specializes in we have developers that have or we're kind of an aggregation of developers that have soft skills, right? How many companies complain that their developers they hire technical teams that have no soft skills?
hmm
mm,
So we could basically create a job board if we wanted to, or I mean, there's a lot of options with this play, and because we're kind of the aggregate of soft skills, developers that care about these things, and so we could basically go to companies and say we can not only get you a technically competent developer because that's our audience, but our audience specializes in developers that care more about their tech than just their technical skills. So we can get you like an actual functional person, to hire on your team. How
Yeah.
valuable is that to you? You know, what I mean, like it's a specialized niche for that really because they don't have that audience. So that's kind of cool. And then we can also do something in the corporate world with training because programmer, we're the experts on soft skills for software developers. So we can come in and we can build training and enterprise licensing for like a training package or for teaching soft skills to developers specifically. So I think there's like these. It just opened my mind to these huge opportunities where instead of thinking about, I was always thinking in my head, well, I want to make Simple Programmer like a $1 million business. Now,
hmm
well, 10 million is definitely possible, and that's where we need to go. But it could even go beyond that. So yeah, it's pretty good experience.
Nice. What was the name of the conference again?
Uh, Traffic and Conversion Summit.
Oh, Traffic and Conversion Summit. That's right.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Man, it sounds like a conference I want to go to. The problem is that I keep there are a ton of conferences I want to go to.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, this one was definitely worth it. Pat Flynn was there, so that was cool. Got to meet Pat Flynn. I told him I said,
Nice.
Yep.
and uh, who else was there? There's a few people I bumped into there. John McIntyre was there, so that was cool to meet him in person. And yeah, and they just had some pretty. Gary Vaynerchuk was there.
Yay.
He dropped the F bomb in his talk at least 100 times.
Of course he did.
Nice.
It was a pretty good talk, though.
Yeah.
I don't think Josh likes him very much, though.
I like him slightly better than Tim Ferriss. Let's put it that way.
There's a glowing recommendation
There's a
from Derek.
glowing recommendation from me.
So I read his book. Oh, what's it called? Crush It.
Yeah.
And I really liked Crush It.
I like
Yeah, I've heard good things about that book. I haven't read it yet.
I
but
want
it's-
to read Jab, 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 Right Hook. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But yeah, I've seen him speak once because he was a keynote speaker at RubyConf, I want to say.
Really? Okay.
And I didn't find him as impressive there. But
Yeah. I like Crush It. I didn't like Jab Jab Right Hook as much, but he's all. It's funny. His talk was all about Snapchat. How Snapchat is the future, and we need to be on.
Seriously?
that's funny.
Yeah.
Give it 6 months and he'll be saying, oh, it's all about next social media thing, and that's the future.
Well, he's picked some winners like in the past, so it's hard to like. I don't
Completely
know.
discount him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard for me to put any credibility on anyone that says some social media platform is the future.
Well, like the future of where the commerce of where you need to be to like you know what I mean, like if you could have been if you could have been on the Twitter land rush or the Facebook land rush, or so many people missed Instagram. Like Instagram is making companies, you know, millions of dollars as a sales funnel now, like if you know how to use it correctly. And there's and that one was ridiculous. Like Instagram, really? Like,
Yeah.
but it's too late now. You missed the boat. You know, Facebook advertising was the same thing. People are like, really? What? That doesn't make sense. And then now it's too expensive to like. I mean, you can still make money on Facebook advertising, but it's a lot more expensive.
hmm
So
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some merit to it, but I'm not wholly convinced. Like Snapchat.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly does have that time-limited availability thing. If you miss it, well, you missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would just like to see one stat on Snapchat, and then I'll make my decision. I just want to know what percentage of pictures on Snapchat are pictures of dicks. That's all.
probably like 95 to 90% of them.
Yeah, if that number is above 70%, then I'm not believing.
hmm And probably mostly from politicians, too.
Yeah. But yeah,
Oh, nice awkward silence there.
there was this interesting story that one of the guys, Perry Belcher, is like one of the, like it's Ryan Dice and Perry Belcher, the two guys that run the show. And Perry Belcher, he looks like Alec Baldwin.
hmm
He talks like him as well, and he's just like the most honest guy. Like as far as like, he just tells it like it is, right? And he told this story about he's telling about strategies of getting domain names, and he said that what was the site? There was some like it was like a do it yourself. It was some kind of cooking site or something.
hmm
No, canning. It was a canning site, like. And so he wanted to go into the canning domain. He wanted to make a media site around canning, and so he found this site of this blog like My Canning or something like that, and it was run by this woman who and it looked like she hadn't updated in like 2 or 3 years, but she owned the domain, and he wanted that specific domain for canning because it was like the best one.
hmm
So he looked at like the copyright, and it was like 2013. So he figured she had given up. She must not be making any money from this thing, and so he was going to make her an offer for the domain. And what he did was he's like he figured it might be worth like 10 grand or so, or something like that. And so instead of just making an offer, he was like, well, if I make an offer, if you come in too low, then they're going to ignore you, or they're going to just like you're not going to be able to negotiate very well. And if you come in too high, you'll be selling yourself short. Like you'll be giving too much money for this thing. So he was like, he basically emailed her and he's like, I'm going to give you, I'm interested in your domain. I'd like to buy it, and my company is uh, very generous. We're prepared to make you a very generous offer of 12x revenue per month. But he knows she has no revenue, which is a generous offer, right? But it's like, so he's like, I send someone that, and it just takes the legs right out from underneath them, because that's a perfectly fair, that's a more than generous offer, except that there is no revenue, right? So he says, send me your revenue numbers, and and then he says immediately, every single time they send back, well, we don't really have our exact revenue numbers. Right. So then, he replies back, and he says he knows that she had an email sign up. He said, well, how big? I know she have an email sign up. How big is your email list? And I think she said something like 38,000 people.
Jeez.
So he was like, well, I don't know if it's like a live list or anything. So here's the deal. He said, let me test the list. Let me send an email to the list to see how active the list is. So he gives her an email to send, and in it he has an affiliate offer for like canning, something that would appeal to her audience. And she sends it out, and he makes like $3,000 from. So then, or it might have been more than that. It might have been $5,500. So then he says, well, I'll tell you what. I can't offer you 10 grand on the property, but I can offer you 5. So he buys it for 5. So he ends up netting $500 and getting a domain.
She basically sold him the domain with money that could have been hers.
Exactly.
That's pretty awesome.
That's funny.
And he got to test out the list to make sure it's really good. So it was just like, I like that story because it was just like such an interesting way to think about just like most people wouldn't think about doing something like that, but there's a lot of ways to make money. And she still got more money than probably anyone would have offered her for that domain, because I mean, $5,000 for your dead canning site.
Right.
So she was happy, and he made money without taking any risk.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, they had a lot of just really good content like that. I took a bunch of notes and just got a ton of ideas from it. Just thinking bigger about a lot of things that can be done. And I also realized, like, going to that conference, I was like, if Josh and I work on getting soft skills, like marketing my book, Soft Skills, we can hit the #1 spot easy. I mean, we've got the chop. No other like technical publishing company or anything has anywhere close to the marketing chops or power that we have. Like, we know how to do marketing like they've never ever seen before. So if we just put in an effort for a couple weeks to try and do that, we can lock up the #1 spot, and then that's going to be a huge like lead source. So
yeah, totally.
Yep.
So that's one of the things that's on our agenda. We've got like a Trello board with like 200 items now.
Nice.
What are you going to do the week after next then?
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's good. Yeah, and Josh, we got to figure out, just like to prioritize everything and talk about the strategy for Simple Programmer. So yeah, we've got a lot of cool stuff that we can do.
Nice.
Definitely cool.
Wow, there's a lull in the conversation. I'm gonna take
Always
advantage.
go for it.
So I have a slight dilemma. I'm trying to figure out the exact the dates for our retreat. I'm trying to remember, was it the 30th or 31st that we were planning on? I was planning on being down there on the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look at it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my calendar. April. I'm leaving on the 1st
Okay.
and coming home on the 6th. So I think it's like the 2nd and 3rd is for us, and then the 4th and 5th are for the conference. Or wait, I don't remember exactly now.
I've got it set up for. Oh yeah, my schedule has me coming in on the 30th.
Yeah, you were gonna get there a couple days early and
Okay.
go gambling and all that.
Yeah.
I think Josh was coming in on the 31st. He said,
Yeah.
and then like we were planning on having the 1st and 2nd for us because the
Right.
Microsoft starts on the 3rd.
Okay. So
That sounds right.
then that works out fine. So iFreaks got invited to come and do our thing at Build.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it's the 30th, 31st, and 1st. And
Mm-hmm.
so I could go out the 30th and 31st, and then maybe just fly into Las Vegas instead of drive, and then fly back to Salt Lake.
Nice.
So yeah, I was like, crap, because on my calendar, yeah, I had it down for the 30th. I was going to drive down, so I could just fly out on the 29th. But yeah, okay, so that makes sense. But yeah, I got an email from what's his name, Richard from .NET Rocks,
Oh okay, yeah.
and it was kind of funny because he goes, I don't know if you remember, but you were on a panel that we put on .NET Rocks a few years ago, and I'm like, yeah, I remember. But yeah, so they're starting to make mobile development part of the content for .NET Rocks, and they talked to the people at Microsoft Build, and the idea was to set up a space for podcasters to record their shows on the expo hall floor. And so the deal is we get a full pass to Build, and I think he said that Microsoft would cover our expenses, so they'd actually pay for my flight and hotel and everything as well.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I looks like Andrew and James are going to be able to go as well. So
Nice.
yeah, so it looks good. So yeah, so I'll just clear it with my wife that I'll go to San Francisco for a couple of days and then Las Vegas instead of going straight to Las Vegas. It's just kind of funny how this stuff comes out of nowhere, and it's like, yeah, we really ought to do that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep. Yeah, I know it's a big Microsoft conference, and I'm not very well versed in the Microsoft world anymore.
But I tell you though, I have a lot of friends that are still in the Microsoft space, and it's not the Microsoft of even
No, it's
the
not.
early to mid 2000s. I mean, I'm dealing with Microsoft people on almost a weekly basis with Watch Me Code, Node.js stuff, MongoDB, RabbitMQ. I mean, it's definitely not the old Microsoft the way it used to be.
No, it's true.
It's pretty impressive to see the directions that they're moving. So I think there's a huge potential for your audience to grow significantly with something like this.
I agree. It's just what I guess what I was trying to say is that I'm not as familiar with like Microsoft Azure or
Mm-hmm.
some of their other offerings that are out there that people can dig into and write apps on for or with. So,
Right.
A lot of it kind of goes over my head just because I'm not familiar. But yeah, so that could be pretty interesting. And I would probably just fly out the evening of the 29th and fly back on the I just fly back to Vegas and then, fly back to Salt Lake from there. But it's only like an hour or 2 hour flight from Las Vegas to Salt Lake, so it's not that bad.
Nice.
I kind of like the drive, and so I was kind of looking forward to it, but I don't think I
Yeah.
can pass up this opportunity. So
Yeah. Now that we're talking about all this with going out there, I'm trying to find confirmation for my plane tickets. I know I have my hotel and I have my microconf, and I can't find my plane ticket confirmation. Now I'm kind of freaking out. Where's my plane tickets?
I'm afeared I can't help you with that.
Yeah.
I had to cancel mine since I'm going to be
Right,
driving.
you're driving.
There you go. John can just give you his.
Exactly. Guess I'll take your first class tickets, thank you.
He likes when you do that. When you're like, this guy's going to go instead. Is that all right? Okay.
Yeah, they totally. That's totally fine. Never a problem.
Yep. But yeah, and this week has just been insane as well. I'm actually really feeling a lot better about things yesterday and today. I'm not going to go into exactly why or what happened, but we'll just leave it. It was a fairly spiritual thing. But anyway, I was in a weird funk this week, and Monday I just felt sick all day. Tuesday my laptop crashed.
Ugh.
And that's my primary machine. I have a Mac Pro that's sitting on my desk, but I haven't used it in I don't even know how long. And so to get it up to working order, I was thinking that it'd probably take just as long as getting the laptop fixed. So I took it down to the repair shop, and they hooked everything up, ran some diagnostics, and said, yeah, everything's fine, but we can fix it for you, but it'll be 10 days.
Wow.
Which just kind of won't work for me because I need it this week. I definitely need it next week going to Amsterdam. So I was like, oh, crap. So I was like, that's okay. Is there anything else I can do? And he's like, yeah, get one of those, follow the instructions on the internet to build the bootable USB, and then you can reinstall the operating system. It won't wipe your data. So I tried that, and it wouldn't reinstall the operating system. And so as a last-ditch effort, I ran a time machine restore on my machine. It took it 2 hours, and then it started to work. So the working theory is, and what he said would probably happen at the repair store was that there was some kind of backup that went wrong, and it corrupted the operating system. So by doing the restore, it pulled the data off of there and then put it in a reasonable way and cleaned all that up. So. So that was Tuesday, and then Wednesday was just I just couldn't get a break. I had stuff coming up like all day long and just couldn't get anything done. And then finally Thursday morning, things kind of broke loose. But man, I hope next week goes better than this week because I just don't know. It's like when it rains, it pours. This is like the third or fourth week in a row that things have been just really, really off. But yeah, this week I missed 3 out of 5 podcasts, and the only reason I made it to JavaScript Jabber was because we rescheduled it for yesterday. But the reason that they rescheduled it was that I couldn't make it, and they didn't want to do episode 200 without me.
Oh yeah.
So we're hitting episode 200 there, and then Ruby Rogues is doing episode 250 in a couple of weeks. So.
Oh wow, nice.
So things are going really well there. I also figured out that I don't know how I did this, but I missed one of the JavaScript Jabber spots that was open. And so, and I've had people asking for it for a couple of weeks. And so I finally reached out to Telerik, and I was like, you asked first, and you're already sponsoring another show, so you get first crack at it. Do you want it? And yeah, if they don't get back to me by the end of next week, then I'll just ask one of these other companies that wants it. But
nice. That's like finding $20 bill in your pocket, except a little bit more than that.
Yeah, it's like finding a $20,000 bill in your pocket.
Yeah, it's about $2,000 is what I'll probably make off of that sponsorship. So
nice.
And then it'll probably carry into next quarter. I've got a couple other companies, and they're just like, can we reserve spots for like Q2 and Q3 and Q4? And I'm like, I don't really do that. What I do is I let the people who have them keep them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it's kind of hard because I have so much demand. I don't really know what to do with it other than put them on a wait list and come back to them when I have something open up. But stuff doesn't open up that often, so. But which probably means I need to raise my prices. That's another thing I wanted to kind of ask about briefly with that is that Ruby Rogues and JavaScript Jabber I'm currently billing out at the same rate, but JavaScript Jabber gets almost twice as much traffic as Ruby Rogues.
Mm-hmm.
So should I double the sponsorship rate on those? The thing is that I think it'd be sticker shock for everybody who's currently paying the lower rate.
I don't know if I would double it. What are the key metrics that your sponsors look at?
It's different for each one. I mean, Front-End Masters, Mark basically said, I sponsor the show because I like it, and I'll just pay whatever you tell me to pay. DigitalOcean, I think they track the traffic that goes through their landing page. I'm trying to remember who the other sponsor is.
So I guess the point of what I wanted to say was, if there is a way for you to compare the metrics that your sponsors care about between JS Jabber and Ruby Rogues, use that as a gauge for setting the price instead of just traffic and listens. You know, maybe your sponsors do care about traffic and listens because it just gets their name in front of people. But if there is something else that they care about, see if there's a way you can gauge. Well, on average, JS Jabber gets 2 or 3 times more than Ruby Rogues, and I would for sure up the price on JS Jabber. It sounds like you have a really easy situation in doing that, but maybe not go up twice at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe go up 1.5 times.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
And then in another 6 months to a year, you could go up again and see when people stop saying yes. Or if you're looking at new sponsorships, if you do have a spot available and it's a brand new sponsorship, double it.
Yeah.
But if you're dealing with an existing sponsor, just bump it up a little.
Yeah, I've kind of been prepping the current sponsors, all of them actually, for a price increase in June, because that's kind of what I've set as the time frame that I do those. So
right.
It shouldn't be a shock if it goes up some. When I raised it last June, I did have 1 or 2 sponsors drop off, but people came in and filled those spots immediately, so it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible, but.
And that's going to happen. The people that are used to paying one thing are going to complain about the price increase and probably go somewhere else. But you'll get new people coming in because they don't have that history to say whether or not they're getting their money worth.
Yep. So that's kind of where I'm at there. And then this next month, I'm planning on reaching out to. In fact, I'd probably do it. Send the email out on Monday, though I don't have the time to handle them, so maybe I'll wait a week. But I'm going to send an email out about the other opportunities that I do have for sponsorship and see if anyone wants to fill those. But I have one company that's interested in filling in one of the other spots on Web Security Warriors, and I have that spot open. And then I should be able to fill the JavaScript Jabber spot here within the next week. So
nice.
But yeah, it's been kind of an interesting thing figuring some of this stuff out. So yeah, I like the approach of just raising it some for the existing sponsors, and doing seeing if I can get double from new sponsors. The other thing that I've done though is so I have my media kit. I set the media kit to the full price. So I put in there, it's going to be whatever, double what it has been or whatever. And then when I send the invoices out to the current sponsors, I actually put the full price in there and then put a discount on the invoice that says, thanks for being a long-time sponsor or something like that. So.
Yeah, and that's a good way to do it because that gets them. There's a lot of psychology in there where people will say, "Oh, I'm getting a discount. That's great," but then it also sets the expectation that this is a discount. Here's the regular price, double what it is that you're paying, but here's your 50% discount for being a long-time customer, and there's a lot of good things in doing that.
Yeah, and on Hired.com, for example, on their invoice, it has the discount for bulk purchase because they sponsor every show. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes them feel good because they feel like they're winning,
Yeah.
and it makes me feel good because I'm getting lots of money. So.
Yep.
So yeah. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm dealing with. And then I was on the Code Newbie podcast last week. It'll come out in April, but I sort of announced that I'm writing a book.
Now you gotta write a book.
Now I
you
gotta
have
go
to.
write a book.
Yes.
So yeah, so I'm going to be setting up the landing page for that. Of course, right now I think it's just going to be collecting email addresses, unless there's something else I should be doing with that.
No, just put up a nice description, maybe a preview of some kind of a cover, what the book is about,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff, but really hit heavy on that mailing list. That's the thing you want to get built up as quickly as possible.
Yep. I don't have a cover made. I'm still noodling over the title, but I think I'm just going to call it the domain I bought for it.
Which is
Get a Coder Job.
nice.
Yeah, that sounds good. That definitely having it be the same domain is.
Yeah, I agree.
Title then, so you can throw it on your landing page. I mean, get a cover so you can throw it on your landing page, so you'll get more email signups.
Right.
And
even
where do you get the covers done?
Fiverr.
Fiverr?
Yeah.
Well, it depends. I don't know. I'm almost inclined to say 99 Designs on this because you're pre-marketing it and trying to get as many people signed up on the.
I'd still say Fiverr for now, just to get it done fast and have something available. You can get a final design through 99 Designs later. I would you just get a blank white sheet of paper with "Get a Coder Job" in big letters and have that rendered into a 3D looking book and call that good enough for now. But there needs to be something there that looks like a book and says, "Hey, this is a book." Just so people have some expectations visually. And you can play with it and try new ideas and do all kinds of crazy stuff later. That's my opinion, at least.
That's true. I guess I just need something that looks nice.
Yeah.
If I switch it around later and they get an ebook with a different cover, most people probably won't care.
Yeah. Most people won't care if it's a completely different title. There have been countless studies with marketing efforts on like the little things that you give away for free. Enter your email address to get XYZ, and you send them something that's titled ABC, and they don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then I think I'm going to start putting a blog post up every week on devchat.tv.
Yeah.
About the topic, and then just point people over to that landing page.
Yeah, if you have your mailing list set up and people are signing up for that list, make sure you're doing an automatic email to that list with that content.
Yeah.
You got to keep that list alive, keep people engaged, because if you just build this giant list of 15 or 20,000 people but you've never sent an email, nobody will know who you are, why they're getting an email suddenly when you are ready to start marketing the book.
Right.
That's true. I'll probably send an email out to the devchat.tv list with a link in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
It takes them to the landing page. That way they can get on that list in
Totally.
particular. And then I'll come up with a lead magnet. It'll probably be, an email course for some small section of what the book's about.
Yep. And just keep the emails going after they get done with that small email course. Send them at least one email a week until you're done with the book.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I've never built like a long form sales landing page. Do I need to bother with that right now, or is it just
Not right now?
Here's the book, here's what it's about, here's what you're going to get out of it, sign up for the mailing list?
Yeah, I'd keep it short and simple for now, and you can do the big long form sales page once you actually start taking pre-orders or get ready for the actual sale.
Okay, that makes sense.
And only if you do bundles with the book, like video and if you're just selling the book, then I would not even do a long form sales page because it's gonna. If you do that for just a book, it's gonna trigger this skeptic alarm for
Right.
people.
I
They're
don't know.
for a
When
book.
I did my Building Backbone Plugins book. If you hit backboneplugins.com, it's I guess they do have bundles in there, and I have a couple that include screencasts, but it's primarily just the book, and it's not a huge page, but it's got a good 4 or 5 sections of content in it, and then the offers at the very bottom of the book.
Yeah, I'd like to put some videos on it.
Yeah.
And I think I know what some of those are going to be. It'll probably be a mix of how-tos and interviews.
Yeah. Interviews would be phenomenal for that kind of content.
Well, I can do an interview with like Amy Knight because
Mhm.
she's got a great story about how she got her first coding job. Saran Yitbark, same thing.
Mhm.
A few other people.
Talk to some people that hire developers, that hire junior developers.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good idea.
Is that they're going to be the ones that'll really be able to tell a junior developer what they should and should not focus on in those early interviews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I guess the other question I have then is with the interviews, do you give them a cut of the sale or
No.
No,
do they just?
definitely not. Either give them, definitely offer to make it worth their time. You don't want
Right.
people to think that they're just giving you something for free. And if they offer it for free, that's great. But like when I did my RabbitMQ stuff, I offered people, I can't give you a ton of money, but I definitely would want to make this worth your time. So what would work best for you in terms of making this worth your time? Nobody asked for money. I was surprised. Most people said, "Oh, I'll just do it for free."
Mm-hmm.
Udi Dahan said, "Don't make it don't make my video for pay. Just post it on YouTube for the community to benefit." So and some people probably will say, "Oh yeah, a couple $100 or whatever would be good." But you want to make sure you offer to make it worth your time. How can this be a success for you as well as for me?
Yeah,
And
and I
then,
think
sorry, I'm just rambling now.
no, it's fine. But I think some people will be like, "Oh, we're friends. I'll just do it."
Yeah, totally.
And then I
Yeah.
think other people will probably, they'll ask for whatever.
Yeah.
I,
And for people that run businesses and are hiring developers, give them an opportunity to talk about their company
Oh yeah.
and allow them to pitch their services and their company and their employment.
in fact, that's the angle I would take entirely. Like, I wouldn't mention
Yeah.
money at all because that's a better angle. Because if you, I mean, for example, like if I had offered Uncle Bob money or Jeff Atwood money,
Hmm.
it would have because then they would have like the amount that would have been made it worth their time would have been a large amount of money. So
Right.
I'd rather not bring it into the equation at all. But by offering like advertising, free advertising, and
Oh, there we
reaching
go. Yeah.
people,
Yep.
and then that's a better opportunity. And you don't even really have to explicitly call it out. You could just say, of course, you would have the opportunity to talk about your, or just talking about the audience that it's likely to go to, and they'll figure it out. They'll fill in and they'll realize. I mean, it's better. The best thing is when someone like comes to the conclusion themselves. They're like, oh, that'd be a good opportunity for me to. And if you spell it, if you give enough clues, they'll come to that conclusion, and then they'll have a
Hmm.
lot more chance of being on board because it'll be their idea essentially.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and Saran already has a platform, so she could promote that. Yeah,
Mhm.
it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so yeah, I kind of put myself in a position here.
There you go. That's how the best way to swim is to jump in the water.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'd been thinking about it for a while, and when I emailed Saran and I was like, I'd like to be on Code Newbie, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, I'm not just going to show up for the podcast. What do I want?
Hmm.
And I was like, well, I've been noodling over this book for a while, and it would be a perfect fit for her audience. And so I emailed her and I said, I've been working on this book, and she got really excited, and that's what we talked about. So,
Nice.
but yeah. So yeah, so I might wind up writing book on plane. I'm going to be spending lots of time on the plane. But yeah, that's more
That's
or less
cool.
what I've got going on this week, though.
Yeah. So Watch Me Code's been doing terrible still. I've only had a few people sign up so far in this month. I think I've got like, actually, let me just pull up the numbers. Reports, signups. I've had 7 signups in 12 days, which is pathetic. So I'm actively working on increasing the traffic into my sales funnel, though. So I had a really popular blog post a couple weeks ago on JavaScript book recommendations, which ended up netting me a couple of hundred mailing list subscribers off of that, which is pretty nice. And that's continuing to drive traffic, and I've had some pretty good uptick in traffic in general in the last few weeks. And I'm trying to get back into my regularly blog posting schedule. So hopefully that'll drive things forward again and see more signups. But then I also got Thrive leads installed and configured yesterday. It was frustrating at first because I didn't realize I had to connect the individual form to a specific mailing list in Drip. So I had a handful of subscribers that I missed because they tried to subscribe and their email address went nowhere into the ether. So that was obnoxious. Once I
in Thrive. Thrive keeps track of all the email addresses.
yeah, I did find them in there.
Yeah.
But once I figured that out, though, I got everything set up and working right. Ran into a small problem with Thrive. It wouldn't save properly, but they had a fix for that last night, so I got that updated. So I've disabled SumoMe entirely on the site at this point. I wanted to leave SumoMe turned on for some of the social share links because I don't have Thrive themes installed yet, but there were too many pieces of SumoMe that you can't turn off. It's really obnoxious. Like once you install a SumoMe app, you can't turn it off. It's like, okay, I'm just going to disable the whole thing because I don't want to leave all of these things turned on just so I can have one that I wanted. But at this point, I've got my lightbox for, if you hit ericbeta.com, the first thing you'll see is the ribbon bar at the top of the site, and that ribbon only shows up on the home page. The home page doesn't have any lightbox or any other sign up. Well, I guess there is the drip slide-in box from the bottom right as well, which I need to update. So there's a couple of things on the home page. You click on any blog post, and you'll get the big welcome mat style thing where it pops up full screen and asks you to subscribe. And then at the bottom of any given blog post, you'll see another sign-up form. And configuring all of that in Thrive was like ridiculously easy.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of frustrated with it at first because I was so used to the simplicity of the SumoMe, the whole admin side of things and the editor and everything else. And Thrive is definitely more challenging in terms of getting it configured and laid out. But once I figured out how it all works, it's like super configurable, super easy to do now that I know how it works, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Cool. I noticed you got the drip thing showing up. I don't know if that's intentional.
Yeah, I need to configure. I'm actually going to get rid of the drip one and use a Thrive slide-in, and I'm going to configure it on specific pages. I just haven't had time to do that yet. So I'm going to use those slide-ins to target specific blog posts. Like for the JavaScript this email course, I'm going to target specific JavaScript categories. And for the RabbitMQ, I've got a RabbitMQ email course as well that I don't advertise very much, and I'm going to target the RabbitMQ category of blog posts with that one. So it's going to be more context specific moving forward, which I think will help a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. The other thing I noticed on your welcome mat is that the arrow that's supposed to be at the bottom, I didn't see it.
It's technically not a welcome mat. It's actually a light box.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
I didn't when I was first setting things up. I didn't know if I wanted to use a light box or a welcome mat, and then I saw that they had content filling full screen light boxes. I was like, all right, let's try that and see how that works. And I kind of like it better than the normal welcome mat that you scroll down. I've had a few people complain about the welcome mat where you can just scroll to get rid of it. Like people would get halfway down an article before it would show up, and it would scroll them all the way back up to the top of the article in order to show them the welcome mat, and then they'd have to scroll down again. And the full screen light box prevents that because it doesn't change your position in the article. It pops up in front of the article.
Yeah.
So I have to ask about that because I just installed SumoMe on devchat.tv,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't activated any of it yet. So is the welcome mat really the way to go? Because it seems a little bit heavy-handed because it's the whole screen.
You know, that's what I asked about a couple of months ago before I tried it, and it converts better than my light boxes did. I don't know why, but it did, and I've had, I think maybe half a dozen people complain about it out of the thousands that have signed up through it. So it seems like a pretty good win to me.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I think I'm going to turn it on for a few weeks and then just see what happens.
Give it at least a month. Anytime you try something new like this, it's going to take a few weeks for you to get past that initial squeamishness and concern about it, and it's going to take a while for people for the first set of people to go through it and really see it start picking up steam.
Right.
And especially if you've had any other plugins that do this kind of stuff before, like for me, I've gone from lead pages to SumoMe and now to Thrive, and every time I switch providers for this, anybody that had previously closed the form is now going to see the form again.
Yeah.
Anybody that had previously signed up is now going to see the form again.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish there was a way around that, but I don't know of a way around that because they all use different cookies to track who's signed up.
Right.
So I kind of got to let people get through that phase, that period of time, before I really know if Thrive is how Thrive is doing or how my current designs in Thrive are doing compared to my previous stuff.
Yeah. I'm really close to actually buying the SumoMe upgrade.
Yeah, I was right on the edge of buying it last week as well, and Josh convinced me to get Thrive, and quite honestly, I don't think either of them is the wrong way to go, and especially in your case with SumoMe not requiring WordPress, you have a lot of advantages there, and I would have been perfectly happy paying for SumoMe. And I don't think it would have been a bad decision on my part, but I'm definitely liking Thrive. I like the customization and flexibility. There seems to be a few more options in there. Plus, I get all of Thrive themes and everything else now.
Yep. Yeah, as far as the social sharing buttons, you mentioned that. I've been using Add This.
Hmm.
And
SumoMe's got social sharing buttons.
it does.
Yeah, and they're pretty nice too. They load after the page loads, so they don't slow down your page load speeds or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, the Add This does the same thing, and
Nice.
It's pretty nice. So I'll fiddle with that and see what I wind up getting. But
Yep.
yeah, it also depends on how easy it is to configure SumoMe so that if they're on a Ruby Rogues page, it gives them the social links for Ruby Rogues instead of DevChat TV. Because with Add This, it's kind of a hassle, but it works.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I've never had to deal with that, so I'm not sure how that would work in SumoMe.
Yep.
It's good stuff, though.
Yep.
I've
So you're
had
using a full light box then? Full screen light box?
Yeah, full screen lightbox in Thrive, which is the equivalent of a welcome mat. It's slightly different implementation. Thrive has a full welcome mat. They call it a scroll mat, but I'm using the screen filler light box, which is a pop-up light box that just fills the whole screen like a scroll mat does.
Cool.
There's something else I was going to say as well. No, I can't remember what it was.
Sorry.
It's all right. It wasn't about this. It was like another subject entirely. I don't remember now.
Well, you talked about Watch Me Code, and you talked about picking up blogging, and then you talked about.
I remember now. It was related to you getting videos and stuff for your book bundle. I'm starting to plan for the same thing with my RabbitMQ, or not RabbitMQ, my Node.js stuff. I think I talked about this a little bit last week, but I've been trying to track down people to interview for this, like Node.js, Express.js, architecture expert kind of people, and I'm having a hard time finding people that would be a good fit for the subject matter I have. So I'm needing some recommendations. So if you know people, Chuck, who are Node.js, Express.js expertise kind of people, I would love to get some connections for my bundle on this. I do have a couple of people I'm going to reach out to ask and to get some recommendations from. It's just...
And do they need to have been using RabbitMQ as well?
Nope. Just Node Express kind of architecture. Whatever... And various aspects of that as well. If people are... if you know somebody that's like a Node.js expert, but they write a lot of back-end systems that don't use Express, that's totally cool, because that's an important aspect of writing large-scale systems. If you know people that are Node developers and their expertise is, Happy.js or Sails or something, right, that's cool as well, because all of those different frameworks, they all fit into the same large-scale architecture system pieces, and having different perspectives on different ways and different pieces is what I'm looking for. Like with RabbitMQ, the people that I picked had a specific expertise. One guy was CQRS, one guy was Service Bus, one guy was, there were all these different specialties in the interviews that I did, and I want to have the same kind of specialties. This person is an expert in this area, this person is an expert in that area, so that you can get real focused in the interviews and give people a lot of information to move forward with.
Yeah. Well, I think because what you talking about this has given me an idea for JavaScript Jabber as well. I know that a good chunk of our audience is front end only, and I know that another good chunk of our audience uses JavaScript primarily on the back end, and then there's a fair mix of people that do both.
Right.
And I'm kind of tempted to send an email out to just the JavaScript Jabber list and basically say, look, I'm thinking about doing a series on all of the back-end frameworks in Node. And so if you're an expert in any of the back-end frameworks, or you've been doing it for a long time and built some large-scale apps in them, then I'd like to talk to you about maybe getting you scheduled on the show, and then I can pass them along to you as well.
That'd be cool.
Because I think it'd be interesting to just focus on that for, do like 6 weeks worth, and hit Express and Happy and Sales and whatever other ones, and then it might be fun to do the same thing on the front ends. I don't know. And basically say, look, I'm not looking for the framework implementers. I'm looking for people in the trenches actually using them.
Right. Totally.
Yep.
But yeah, I'll see what I can come up with.
Awesome. I don't think I have much else to say for this week. I've been just kind of focused on getting Watch Me Code up and running again. Well, not really up and running, getting the marketing side of it up and running again. I did get an email from somebody off of Twitter, somebody who's I had put one of their articles in my rotation for Edgar on Twitter, and he emailed me and said, "Hey, thanks for the tweets. Really love what you're doing. I'm sort of starting to do the same thing with screencast myself and wanting to pick your brain, so I'll probably be offering some advice to this guy in exchange for some blog posts from him, which would be nice because it's a lot of work blogging twice a week and producing screencasts once a week and all that. It's definitely a ton of work.
Mm-hmm.
Which that brings me up to my other subject that I wanted to talk about. So I'm thinking I'm done with doing presentations at conferences. Like I'm just not going to do it anymore unless there's some, special circumstance that I just really want to do it for whatever reason. But I'm pretty much done at this point. I've done 3 conferences in the last 4 months, and each one of them has been twice as stressful as the previous one. And it seems like every time I do another conference, another talk, it just gets more and more stressful. Takes more and more time, takes more effort, especially the way I do my presentations these days, where I focus on the why and the what instead of the how, which I think is still incredibly valuable and important and something that I need to continue to do, but I don't want to do it in conference talks anymore because it takes too much of my time and it adds too much stress to my weeks, to my work week trying to do those. So I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on whether or not that is a sane thing to do, because I don't feel like I need to do conferences anymore, at least not as a presenter.
I think it really comes down to what you want to get out of them. It's kind of funny that you bring this up because I'm kind of on the other end. I'm trying to get in to speak at more conferences, but
right.
I think it really does boil down to what you want to get out of it. So, for example, if if it kind of pumps you up to get up there and be in front of people and feel like you're making that kind of a difference and it's worth it to you to go through all the work and stress to be there, then keep doing it. If you see a major financial boost every time you speak, then I'd consider keeping along doing it. If you're not getting out of it what you need, and things are pretty stable where you're at, then focus your effort somewhere else.
So I do get a lot out of conferences and doing talks. I've created some pretty solid friendships by going to a conference, giving a talk, hanging out with people. I love that aspect of it. I especially love the real personal connection that I can make with people in the audience by being there in person and talking and making eye contact with people and answering questions in person. So there's a huge part of me that loves all of that. I really do enjoy standing up in front of people and talking about things like that. It's nerve-wracking, but at the same time, it's incredibly fun for me. It's just ridiculously stressful to get to the point where I'm ready to do that because I'm not, on average, a social, outgoing person. I have to get into that mode, and that's stressful for me to do. The thing that's really killing me, though, is as a means to grow my business and grow my audience, speaking at conferences is an absolute fail. It's the equivalent of the saying of do things that don't scale when you're starting up your business. You don't try to do marketing automation and sales funnels to get your first 50 customers in your new business. You go door to door, shake hands, talk to people one-on-one, and in order to learn how to market the stuff and in order to figure out how to sell to individuals. And then after you've got that down, then you start automating the process. And I'm at the same point. I'm in my business and marketing side of things where conference talks are not scalable. I can do a conference talk and I can reach 50, 150 people sometimes, but from a financial perspective, it's a guaranteed money loser for me right now. Even if the conference pays for me to go, I'm spending 30, 40, 60 hours or more preparing for the talk, and then several days of my time away from my normal work, so I have to get more things done ahead of time. And then I get out of that some wonderful connections with other people on a personal level, but almost nothing from a business perspective. I can look at my numbers in Watch Me Code and look at the discount codes, and I can see, there's there's probably 30, maybe 40 people total that have not even, actually probably closer to 20 people total. Of all of the conference discount codes I've given out, there's maybe 20 people that have become a subscriber to Watch Me Code. And I'm sure there have been plenty of people that have signed up for my mailing list and become a fan and done other things indirectly that can be attributed to conference speaking. But in terms of the direct correlation, I get far more out of writing a blog post that gets put into JS Weekly than I do from a conference. I get more email signups, I get more exposure, I get more people knowing who I am and eventually becoming a Watch Me Code subscriber. And I feel like I can't continue to put this kind of time and effort into something that doesn't scale for my business. And I guess I want to have, of course, the right to reserve, changing my mind and going to do a conference because I want to, or because there's some other circumstance that I don't want to pass up for other reasons. But from a business perspective, I'm done with doing conferences.
What I'm thinking is that what you may want to do then is just look at each conference as its own opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of in general saying I want to speak at more conferences to get in front of more people, it's more of a, okay, so FluentConf, let's just throw that one out there, it's coming up next month. So you look at Fluent and you're like, okay, well, this would give me opportunities to meet with these people, I would get these kinds of payoffs, and I think I would really enjoy it for these reasons, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can decide, okay, so FluentConf might actually be worth it because I'm going to spend the whole time trying to bump into Douglas Crockford.
Right.
Right. But little regional conference that's up in the middle of nowhere, I'm just not seeing that as a major payoff. Even if they pay my way, I'm not going to get out of it what I would like to, and the opportunities really aren't there. So those don't make sense. Because then you're not writing off the whole thing of conferences, and you're making decisions that make sense for you.
Yeah.
Or if you have rules, so I came to the same conclusion last year. I don't know if you guys remember when I was talking about.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And I basically have because I came to the same thing that you said. It just doesn't at this point. It doesn't scale. It doesn't it costs me a lot of time to travel and prepare.
Mm-hmm.
And then even if they pay for the conference, it's just I've lost days of work. And it's just not worth it to me. But so I developed this kind of set of rules. So this is my basic rules for conferences now. Is number one, there's 3 ways I'll do a conference. One, you have to pay me to speak, not pay my travel expenses, but actually pay me to speak.
Right.
If you pay me to speak, then it'll probably be worth it because then at least I'll be I'll be making something for the effort.
Yep.
It's guaranteed. Number 2 is you have to invite me to keynote. If you invite me to keynote, then it'll be worth it because then I'll have the entire audience of the conference, and it will build the reputation. And then number 3 is I'm going to go to the conference anyway because I would have paid the ticket price because I want to go, so I might as well get in as a speaker. And those are the 3. And I figured that the way, I don't know, I know a lot of people that speak at conferences, and I make a lot more money than they do.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been speaking at conferences for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm if I know a lot of people that have been speaking at conferences for 10 years, and I'm making a lot more money than they are, then what they're doing is not working. So I don't want to follow that model. And most of them are consultants, and that's for them, I guess it's getting the leads, the consulting leads.
Yeah, and when I was doing consulting, it was great for me. Speaking at conferences was a huge opportunity because I got a ton of client leads out of speaking at conferences, because that's where the individual one-on-one conversation really comes in and helps
Exactly.
out. The person that wants to hire you comes up and talks to you, and you get that client because you already have that connection. But I'm well past that point.
There's also this like thing I learned in Hollywood when I was doing acting, which you'll notice with actors that like the thing I figured is like, I mean, you can build up your conference speaking repertoire by speaking at a lot of conferences, you know, and the other thing is submitting for them is a pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But and you submit for a bunch of them and it's a waste of time. But the thing is like you can build up your reputation and sort of get your way. And a lot of people who speak at a lot of conferences, you'll notice that they're never keynote speakers.
Mhm.
And so in the acting industry, like, you know, some of the best acting coaches I know when I was doing acting is they would say never ever take a job as an extra. I don't give a crap if you need the money, don't do it.
Mhm.
And the reason why is because once you're an extra, you're going to be an extra. Like you are never going to be the star once you're an extra. Like
Mm-hmm.
the casting crew will never see you. They're going to remember that you were an extra, that they cast you as an extra. So my thinking with the conference is, look, I've got my book out there. I'm growing Simple Programmer. I'm growing my reputation. At the point where you're going to pay me $5,000 to speak, or you're going to have me keynote, then I will do the conference. Otherwise, I'm coming in as an extra. If I have to submit
Mhm.
and like compete with everyone else, or if you're inviting me specifically, that I'm doing Xamarin this year because they invited me specifically, but under those circumstances, then I'm not putting in the extra effort. But you want to come in as the star, not as the extra, and so
Right.
that's I don't know. That's what I could be wrong about that, but that's what I'm thinking.
No,
And
it all comes down to what our goals are, and for
Yeah.
us, I think what you're saying is what I need to be following as well.
yeah,
It's funny what Chuck said though about fluent versus small podunk middle of nowhere, because I feel the exact opposite of what you actually said. I look at
Yeah.
fluent and I'm like, yeah, screw that. No, I'm not going to do that. But then I get excited about, oh, you know, my favorite people in Oklahoma City are having this little 200-person conference, and I really want to go because I love that conference so much, and I really want to see my friends again.
yeah,
Right. And see, that's the thing is, yeah, you can make that decision. You can look at Fluent and go, so many people,
Yeah,
you know, San Francisco, maybe you love it, maybe you don't.
yeah.
So you can make that call, and then it's like, you know, Oklahoma City, it's, you know, it's a bit of a drive, but it's not horrible, and I get to see all the people that I want to see, and maybe that's the payoff. But yeah, you can make that evaluation, and then just go to the ones that really make sense.
Right.
the stress
Right.
comes off when you stop thinking I should be doing conferences. I need to be doing conferences to
Yes.
like I feel guilty because I'm not doing conferences because that's how I was feeling, and then I realized
Exactly.
I actually analyzed. I was like, no, conferences are not going to add to my bottom line. Working my butt off or
Yeah.
building other things or getting on a podcast is going to be better than being on a conference.
Exactly.
Like 10,000 people are going to download that, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I would say about conferences is I'm planning on going to Podcast Movement this
Mhm.
year.
yeah,
I kept meaning to submit to their call for proposals, but I never did.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, the thing is that I go to that. I know a whole bunch of other people that are already going to be there, and a handful of them are the kind of people that if I hang around with them, I'm going to meet the other people that I want to meet,
Yeah.
and I make those connections. And so that's the payoff, right?
Yeah.
Is now I have connections with a few of these heavy hitters and a few other people that are sort of the B or C list podcasters that I can go out and I can build something on, and they can build something on with their connection with me, and we can make something out of it. But yeah, I mean, if you're not getting any of that out of the conferences or not enough of it, then yeah, don't bother with it.
Yeah.
yeah,
And I was for a while. That's the thing. That's
Yeah.
what keeps me bogged down in the I need to do conferences, because it was really beneficial for me for a long time, especially
Yeah.
when I was doing all the backbone stuff. I mean,
So
I got to hang out with some really amazingly talented people and very well-known people like Adi Osmani and John Skeet and all kinds. I had Yehuda Katz sitting in one of my talks once. I mean, that was pretty dang amazing. But what's changed now is I'm not doing that kind of work anymore. I'm not doing
Right.
the consulting. I don't need the individual person to come up to me at a session and say, hey, I want to hire you. I need exposure to a large audience.
Right. You need brand recognition across communities.
Exactly. My audio just screwed up again. Hold on a second.
It's okay. I sound great through your mic.
All right. Try talking again.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No. All right. I'll come back in a second.
All right.
So did you make any major strategic decisions, John,
Uh,
after
yes.
the conference or with Josh there in person?
All right.
Oh, I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, yes and no. Like, what we did was we planned. We know what Josh is working on for the next like month or so before I get
Mhm.
settled in, and like like the current plan for Simple Programmer right now is to take what we're like to finish up the stuff that we've got going in the kind of business that we are now. So to get Josh is going to be focused on like maximizing the revenue off of the existing products by setting up the 10 steps course, the email course on that, which he's almost done, redoing the how to market yourself and getting that funnel working better, and then probably launching the entrepreneurship course, and then getting like sponsorship stuff done. So basically like getting that so we get the cash flow, because right now we should be doing like 20K a month, and we can get there with what we have. And then from there, then the decision, then we're going to kind of replan and figure out where we're going. There's also a lot of stuff. We have a lot of content ideas now. I'd also like to get the ship running, like get the right people on board on the team, and get everything working right so that we can set the bigger direction. At that point, then we're looking at moving into the bigger space, and possibly looking at doing the paid acquisition, and possibly doing something, a corporate play, like using the soft skills or doing something in the job industry. But right now we're going to just focus on getting all that stuff, because there's so much of it that still needs to be done, and it's a learning process. It's funny, this week actually on I'm firing my VA this.
Oh no.
And they just found out because they're listening.
No, well, my video editor guy, Rodrigo, who I've told you guys about, is taking over because he does such a good job. So I'm upping his hours and moving the responsibilities over. So I've been documenting the stuff in the wiki, Simple Programmer wiki, to get that. But that'll be a good move. That'll improve some things. The other thing I'll be looking for, probably, in anyone listening who wants to be an intern, I need someone technical who is willing to answer emails for Simple Programmer, to be the kind of email, because I've had my VA doing that, and he doesn't. I mean, he was doing an okay job, but I could use that role, and that would be an unpaid role, but you would get to sort of see the behind the scenes and kind of work and if that worked out well, that person could basically get some more opportunities. But I'm looking for the right person to be able to do that. It's basically handling customer service, almost like but have to be technical. But I'll be doing that for now, because I'm not assigning that one over to Rodrigo, but I'm giving him everything else to do. Yeah, so that'll be fun. I hate making the transitions, but I'm learning a lot about hiring and getting the right team together, which is going to be important. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the content strategy. I finally got some ideas. In fact, I should share this one with you guys. From that conference, I learned about this. It's not called Evergreen. I forget what the strategy is, but essentially what they figured out was that instead of making new posts, they would create posts and they would extend those posts, add content to those posts over time, and that would help them rank in search engines and also build these really, really big posts, that kind of epic posts. So I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start taking some of my most popular articles on Simple Programmer, and I'm going to expand them and add more images and add more text and add more tips. You know, if it's like 4 tips, it'll go up to 7, and use that to get to get more, to reuse that content, and that's so supposedly that strategy's been working really good for them.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm also going to start doing that, planning out the content myself a little bit more. I've got the editing team that's, you know, getting writers on Simple Programmer and getting articles, and that's working out well. But what I really want to do is get it so that 30% of the content is high value keywords like that we're researching. 30% is the long tail, low value keywords that are easy to rank for, and then 30% is whatever the writers want to write. So that we get that. I think that's about the right ratio to do that. So yeah, so that's kind of the strategy there. And then I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of, like I said, I've got that whole huge Trello board. YouTube is going gangbusters still. I'm at like 16,500 subscribers now.
Oh, wow.
And YouTube is officially like over, you know, it's like 133 page views, or more than that, 140,000 YouTube video views per month at this point.
Per month.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so
I've got a total of 72,000 views. That's, jeez, per month.
So that's where I'm still pumping out like 15 videos a week or so, and I'm going to continue to do that because it's continuing to work and grow, and you know that's going to be the main, I think, in the future. That's going to quickly become the main source of leads for Simple Programmer is their YouTube channel. So, the other thing I'm thinking about, I wanted to run this by you guys, is what do you think about setting up a Patreon on YouTube?
Patreon on YouTube?
Yeah, so the idea is this, right? I mean, YouTube has a donate button as well, I think, but I think Patreon is a better organization. But a lot of people use Patreon for, like, they're not selling anything and they're just producing, they're just artists and they want to get somehow fund their thing. But I'm thinking there's no reason to not let people donate like $10 a month for the YouTube channel if they want to. I don't think it could hurt anything, and it might be like opportunity that we're leaving money on the table, because it does cost. I mean, YouTube is a negative prospect right now. It costs more money to produce than it generates at this point.
Yeah, no, I actually think it's a good idea. I thought about doing something like that a while back, and I don't think it made sense for me. But in your case, I support, I don't know, maybe a dozen people on Patreon at this point for various reasons, and several of the people and several of the organizations produce content exclusively for Patreon backers. So there's one organization. It's an online magazine basically, and you can subscribe to their online content by supporting them through Patreon.
Nice.
So there's lots of opportunity for add-ons and, you know, special things that people can get by supporting you. So you could have the option, oh, I'm just donating because I love your YouTube videos, but then you could have, you know, if you're doing 15 videos a week, maybe 2 or 3 of those are for Patreon backers only.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Because the way I was looking at it is with like 16,500 subscribers.
Yeah.
If I do a Patreon for $10 a month, I think 1,000 subscribers, or let's say 500 Patreons would be probably possible. I mean, if 500 people pay $10 a month, that's $5,000 a month. That's pretty easy cash that I might be leaving on the table there, and then that allows me to kind of expand the YouTube a little bit more.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to just try it first of all, but also to monitor other sources of revenue and see if there's a dip anywhere while you have that increase. Is it offsetting enough? Is it destroying profitability somewhere else? Is it lowering your total income, or is it a boost, a benefit? Or are you really bringing in additional money that you were leaving on the table?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll experiment with it and check it out then and see if
Yeah.
I.
So on that similar note, um, one of the things that I've been thinking about with me not doing conference talks anymore is how and where do I go about producing the what and why videos, because that's a lot of what I've done in my conference talks over the last few years. Is just I go to a conference to give you the why and the what, and then I have all of my Watch Me Code and books and everything else for the how. And I'm thinking I probably need to continue doing those kinds of videos, but those should probably go straight to YouTube and should be probably a little shorter than my average talk length of 30 to 45 minutes, but and maybe on a more regular basis. But I think there's a lot of value in those kinds of presentations that I've done at talks or done at conferences. But if I do it on my own schedule for my own purpose, I don't have to get it submitted and approved and tweak it, and I don't really have to worry about all those things that drive me nuts about conferences. Then I could probably continue to grow my YouTube audience, which would feed directly into Watch Me Code. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're using it as a lead as lead generation though, like YouTube, there's two strategies for using YouTube, I think, as for leads. One of them, and you can combine them, but one of them is to like create videos on stuff that people are searching for,
Right.
on how to so that you're getting that search engine traffic specifically.
Right, and I did get some of that already. I pay attention to the Stack Overflow topic for RabbitMQ, and I saw somebody posting a question in there recently, and I thought, after reading their question, I thought to myself, I wonder if they've watched my RabbitMQ video on YouTube about this. And then I saw at the bottom of their post, I already watched this video on YouTube, and it was a link to my video.
Nice.
But yeah, that's one strategy. The other strategy is just building like a brand or audience on there, just from like producing entertainment, essentially, like content that people aren't necessarily searching for, but when they find. And I'm trying to do both. I'm moving more into the search engine part too, to be able to pick up the initial people. I mean, that's the whole strategy for Simple Programmer, since people aren't searching directly on Buff Programmer or whatever. So, but I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, if you're looking for leads, don't do the why and how talks, and do a small number of those. Because instead, if you're going to do if you're going to do the strategy where you're building the brand and the audience, you've got to do a ton of videos. If you're doing the other one, then doing the how-to videos would be better if you're doing them less frequently, because those are going to pick up the search engine traffic, which is going to get you the. You see what I'm saying? You won't ever be able to get enough momentum doing what would almost be a conference talk, but doing it once a month.
Okay.
The other thing you could do though with that is you could do webinars too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that angle. I could take what were previously ideas for conference talks and do webinars and probably get a good size audience. Is that really just, would that be beneficial? Would that be enough to make it worth my time though? Is the question, or would it just be taking taking the stress and non-scalable aspect out of a physical room and doing it virtually. Because the last two presentations I've done were both virtual conferences with, JS Remote Conf, and then just 2 days ago, Crater Remote Conf, also on Crowdcast. So they were both virtual conferences, but they other than the travel, they had just as much stress and prep time and everything else as any other conference talk I've ever done.
I'm going to jump in on this. I don't know for sure if there's a way to know that without actually doing it. I mean, The difference between a webinar and the remote conference is that for JS Remote Conf, I mean, you were basically speaking to my audience, not yours.
Yes, true.
Where if you can get the word out through your own audience that you're going to do a webinar, and even if you only have like 30 or 40 people sign up, they're people that are already engaged that you may be able to, convert or sell, and you may be able to get them to share your webinar because you're talking about something specific. So the other thing is you're not in the mix of a whole bunch of other speakers, right? It's just you.
True.
So I think it's hard to say without actually giving it a go. So
could be something that I charge money for as well.
Yep. Yeah, if you're going to do webinars for pay, I think you ought to do some for free and some for pay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, you have options there, and I would experiment with it. On the Freelancer Show, Jonathan Stark and Philip Morgan keep talking about micronars, which they didn't coin the term. I hate the term. Anyway, I hate the term webinar too. But anyway, what they do is instead of doing a 45-minute presentation and then 15 minutes of questions, they do it the other way around. So it's a 15-minute presentation on whatever topic, and then 45 minutes-ish of questions.
I like that idea.
And so you can actually then do less prep, you're less stressed, you get out the basics of whatever topic it is you wanted to talk about,
but then
sure
really
you're well
add value
prepared,
for the audience.
and then answer their questions. And just let them know that, hey, this is what we're doing, so bring a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Bring, insightful questions, bring stupid questions, bring, fun questions, and we'll just answer them all.
Right.
So I think you should play around with the format, play around with the timing, play around with how you market it, and just see if you can find something that really clicks.
Yep. Okay, interesting.
So one thing to check out, here's a tool for you guys, similarweb.com.
What?
Similarweb.com.
SimilarWeb?
Yeah.
Similarweb.com.
I found this tool at that conference they talked about it. I thought it was pretty cool. You can see what websites are similar to yours, like your competition, or which is like you get ideas for where to get traffic from and.
Right. What the crap? I put in watchmecode.net and it thinks I am in the adult category.
Nah.
Oh!
That's,
I guess it's similar.
Derek, I always thought of you that way.
Oh, what the crap.
That's hilarious. I gotta put that in. See.
That's just awesome.
Jeez. So where the social audience? Oh, similar sites. Here we go.
I wonder if it's basing that on name. That's weird.
I don't know, because...
No, it's not.
They're genius. My first three. Jabber.com, freelancershow.com, rubyrogues.com, similar to deadcat.tv.
So I go to similar sites, and I see all technical stuff. Los Techies, I used to blog there. DerekBailey.com, wonder why. BackboneTraining.net. My Dev Corner, Refactor Code, I don't know what that one is. RefactorMyCode.com. I mean, there's all this code stuff, and they think I'm an adult website. What the crap?
Oh, I see. It wasn't this. It wasn't the similar on the category rank.
Yeah, the category.
Oh, okay. Hey, you're not doing too bad in the adult website.
Yeah, I'm 47,000 for that category.
Nice.
That's
girls.
apparently, I don't know.
That's interesting.
Disturbing.
But yeah, there's a lot of good information on this, I found.
Yeah.
Like, you can use this for a lot of different things. Like, let's say that I was thinking about looking for sponsors, and I was like, well, what I could look for a company that I know would be a good sponsor, and I can find the ones that are similar, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's a lot of different. Oh, here's another idea that I had that's on my big list from that idea of buying domains.
Mhm.
Is what if I went around and looked for smallish programming blogs or sites that are kind of deadish, that are getting like maybe 10 to 20,000 visits per month, and bought them for basically nothing.
So you're
Integrate their
saying
articles?
DerekBeta.com is deadish?
You get more than 10 to 20,000 views per visitors per month.
Are you talking sessions or page views?
Well, what I'm meaning is that sites that are still getting a lot of traffic. I consider 10 to 20,000 to be a lot of traffic that are dead, that aren't updated.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
What would you do with them then, though? Would you just redirect the domains, or would you pull over the articles and everything?
I would start trying to. I'd figure out what their most popular articles are, and then I would start making. I would put lead magnets on there, on the site, and content upgrades on those articles, and basically get them over to Simple Programmer, get them on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would basically use that traffic, that traffic as leads, essentially. So let's say I found 10 sites that had 10,000 visitors per month, and let's say I paid $1,000 for each one of those sites. Then for $10,000, I could buy 100,000 new visitors per month.
Yep.
Seems like a pretty good play. And people are going to sell it, because especially in our space, in the developer space, if you've got a blog or site and you're bringing like 10 to 20K visitors per month, you probably haven't figured out how to make money. And so if someone would give you any amount of money for that, you probably will take it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I know how to make money from that traffic, so
True.
for me. So I don't know. It's one of those things that I've got on the table as a list of ideas to do. So
Interesting.
trying to think if there's any other major big ones.
This is cool, though.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool site, huh?
I still think it's funny. The first three similar sites are JavaScript Jabber, Freelancer Show, and Ruby Rogues.
Yes.
Chat.tv.
Oh, here's another cool thing that they were doing that I was thinking about utilizing, was instead of having a paid membership site, having an association, right, or certification.
What do you mean?
So, like having an association of, I don't know, of something programming or software related, like, you know, you're like, let's say I form the Simple Programmers Association, or the Programmers with Soft Skills Association, right? And you pay $99 a year to be part of the association, and you have member benefits, like maybe we'd have discounts on certain things, that we'd get deals from various sponsors or other companies, and you'd have access to like a members only forum, and you'd have access to other connections to other people that are part of that association. And you know, there'd be different perks that you would have, and you could say that you're part of this association, you know, as a way to distinguish yourself. But it's like, it's better than a membership, because associations are not relying on, like, association is about more the prestige and the access rather than the content.
If you want to do something like that, before you go down that path, buy that book I talked about a month ago, The Automatic Customer, because
Okay.
he talks about exactly this scenario and has really good advice on how to do that right.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So you actually talked about doing like association.
Yeah, it's one of the 5 or 6 different types of subscription businesses that he has identified in his research, and he gives really good examples on how to create that exclusivity and that level of prestige in order to be part of the association. So it's there's I wouldn't do it justice trying to explain it, but the gist of it is that you have to create a rigid level of exclusivity
Yeah.
for this to be really meaningful.
That makes sense. It'd probably
Otherwise,
also help if you could get some high-profile people in there and
yeah,
have them participate in
exactly.
some way.
Because if you're not creating that kind of exclusivity, then it's just another monthly subscription that
Yeah.
what's anybody can sign up for this. What's the big deal?
Right. Exactly. Like some kind of requirements. And yeah. Okay. I'll definitely get that book before. But I was thinking of that as a continuity program instead of just a membership site where you have to constantly be producing content to keep people paying.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that, but I was thinking that that might be an easier way to do something. And then also just the idea of where I'm going with Simple Programmer, because then I could offer certifications and, and things like that. So
I have reservations about the whole certification thing, but that's just me.
yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of certifications, but
What are you certifying? That you took a course from someone? Yay. I mean,
yeah,
I hereby certify that you sat in your chair for 2 hours and listened to me talk.
yeah,
Yeah,
Okay?
it seems like the industry certifications that count are the ones where you have to go study for weeks on end and
Yeah.
then take a grueling test that shows that you know exactly what you're doing. Kind of like the RHCE is one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Where effectively they give you a couple of different types of broken Linux and you have to actually fix them.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that, where you go in and you show that you have the chops. You just take an
Right.
test or something.
You're not. It's not just knowledge that you read
Yeah.
about. It's applied.
Yep.
I mean,
exactly.
if the industry as a whole did something more like what PhDs go through in order to get their doctorate, I'd be all for that.
Well, where I was thinking with certification was certifying people on test automation, being test automation engineers, because there's no certification for that, and then it coming out of a mastermind-ish sort of group. So the idea would be that they would come in, maybe it's like $1,000 for the group. We would meet, we'd have homeworks, we'd have like I'd individually be working with like maybe 12 a class of 12 people, and then those people would then be able to it'd be a continuity program to keep the certification up to date, like, but I'm not sure yet. This is like very very like rough at this.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're traveling down a bunch of different paths in these ideas, and you kind of need to focus down because the idea of a class that you paid for and get some knowledge from, well, that's more like a class than an association. I think there's a lot of value in that, but now you're talking about like the 35 by 500 class that Amy Hoy does,
Right.
and that kind of group. Which I mean, you've heard Josh talk about that a million times. But the association has more, well, not more, has a different set of expectations than something like a class that you would pay for.
Yeah, and the certification's rough too because
Yeah.
you're basically fighting the. I mean, you have to get people to want to hire people with that certification.
Right. You got to convince people that the certification is valuable.
And then the flip side is that that people aren't going to pay for a certification that doesn't give them a leg up.
Mm-hmm.
But people aren't going to hire people that have the certification unless they know that it gives them that gives them a better candidate. So you have to do sales in two directions in order to make this really happen, and there's a little bit of serendipity that has to go into it as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a long-term, like, it's a brand play once we are able to, like, get the brand large enough, because then that you shortcut that if you have the brand, right?
Yes.
Mm.
So that's that. I was thinking in terms of, these are kind of big ideas in terms of branding. Association too, like if you have the brand, then the association becomes easy, because why would you want to belong to it? Well, because of the brand.
The association, I think, is easier to do than the certification. You can create that prestige almost overnight with the association just by having this published list of criteria and this grueling application process, and have a few big name people already in it, and people want access to those people through your association. That's pretty easy to build almost overnight compared to a certification.
That's a good point. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I mean, lots of ideas coming from this.
Definitely some good ideas in there. Lots of huge potential. It's kind of just a question of which one do you pick and then run with it.
Yeah, but either way, what you wind up doing is spending some personal capital, and then the ideal outcome is that you have people in the association or with the certification that then go out, do a great job, and thereby build your personal capital back up, because then they're all associated with you, and you had some hand in the success there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm trying to think. I think that's most of the big things. Like I said, it's right now, at least, like, I've got a clear direction. Like after speaking with Josh, like we know exactly what we're doing in the short term. We've got some ideas for long term, but we've got a clear plan where, I think after going to this conference, the best thing about the conference is now knowing that building $1 million a year business out of Simple Programmer is easy. Like that's with what we have, we know exactly what we can do in order to get there within about a year.
Mm-hmm.
So
good deal.
It just expanded because when you see digital marketers trying to build $1 billion business, and so when you see what they're doing and how, like, they've got all these properties that are like $10 to $20 million businesses, it just makes it seem a lot more achievable. So.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's all I got. I sold my house in Tampa already.
Nice.
Wow.
Awesome.
Cool.
That was fast.
Yeah, it sold.
John's homeless.
Homeless and jobless.
I bet he's barefoot too.
Probably. He's not actually wearing pants. He's just got a tank top on.
That's it.
It's gross.
TMI.
So we're going through the process of refinancing our house. We've got it submitted off to the actual financing people. So it's going through all of that verification and whatnot. We'll probably be closing on that in end of March or something, maybe early April, which would be nice. Be able to reduce our monthly payment requirement. Anyways, we'll continue paying what we're currently paying now and get the house paid off in 10 years.
Cool.
Good deal.
That'll be nice. And then if we do happen to run into financial difficulties, we can reduce our monthly payment. Or if we happen to run into financial windfall, we can pay it off faster.
Yep.
So thoughts for the week. I have a million thoughts, but I'm trying to boil it down to one this time. So my thought for the week, if I can get it out of my head in a way that makes sense, there's a phrase, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something about you can't expect what you're currently doing to produce different results in the future. You can't expect different results by continuing what you're doing. There's some popular phrase about that. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I feel like
the definition of insanity is doing
the same thing, expecting different results.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm sitting at that point with Watch Me Code right now, not from the marketing perspective. I think I think the marketing, I'm heading down a good path on the sales funnel with the content-based marketing and getting people into my mailing list. I want that to grow faster. I'm kind of frustrated that my mailing list is stuck at just over 5,000 people and never seems to grow beyond that. But that's a separate story. Where I am sitting right now with Watch Me Code is my revenue. I want to grow the revenue from Watch Me Code, and I don't think continuing down my current path of monthly subscriptions with the occasional giant bundle sale is going to grow my revenue significantly, at least not very quickly. It may grow slowly over time, so I'm needing to start looking at needing to get serious about some of these other ideas that we've talked about so many other times in the last year or so, to look at ways of really growing faster, of boosting subscriptions faster, whether it's yearly subscription, whether it's advertising my bundles more frequently and having sales on those more frequently, or doing the webinars or whatever it is. I need to pick something. I need to move forward, and I need to see what happens. I think I'm in this constant state of analysis paralysis where there's a million things I could do, but which one is actually going to be successful? And ultimately, none of them are going to be successful if I never do any of them. So I need to get off my butt, and I need to move my business forward. And I think quitting presentations is going to be the first step to do that. The whole idea of knowing what to quit when, it's time for me to quit presentations so that I can actually do something new and move the business forward.
I'd say come up with 10 ideas to move it forward, and know that 3 of them are going to be the ones that work.
3 of them are going to suck and fail miserably, and the others are just going to be mediocre.
Yeah, and you're not going to know which is which
until you do them.
So then pick your favorite 3 and start going down the list. And
that's a good idea.
Finish one at a time, and then go through.
That's a good idea.
My thought would be to think bigger. That's what I learned this week. Was like just I was thinking big, but I still wasn't thinking big. Like it's like when I saw how big some people were thinking, like I still had very limited thinking, and that changes your mindset. It starts you to think more about like what are outside the box more of what ways could I do this? What ways could I accomplish this? How could I, what would it look like if I were, going for this bigger goal, and what would I have to do? And so that's helping me a lot to be able to see, what kind of things that are possible, and then what it makes you have a better plan, I think, than just if you're just trying to grow like 20%. That leads you down, trying smaller things. Where if you're like, well, I need to grow like 10 times the size that I am, then that leads you down a totally different path. So.
Which is exactly where I am right now. I don't want linear growth right now. I want that 10 times growth this year.
I would like, if I were you, I would think of like how could I grow? What is one thing that I could do to grow my list by 5,000?
Right.
Double the size, because there's probably
one thing I could do is stop emailing people, but that's a terrible idea. I mean, I've had a total of more than 10,000 people on my list, but half of them have unsubscribed.
But I mean, instantly.
Yeah.
Grow. And I think there's a few things. I mean, obviously, if you did some kind of promotion with someone who had a list of 1 million people, you could get 5,000. So I mean, there's probably a lot of ways that you could do that.
Yeah. That's a good angle to think about. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's it. Yeah.
You're talking about think big and then think bigger.
Yep. The one other thing I'll just say real quick is one of the keynote speakers at that event. He said that the biggest question you should always ask is who, and he talked about
Mm.
like the top 25 influencers, like who could you like who could make it so that you could would have the biggest impact on like who's that person up there that could have the biggest impact on your business,
Yeah.
and how can you reach them? That's it for me. How about you, Chuck?
Um, so the big thing this week was just kind of getting over all of the stuff that went on, and
Mm-hmm.
and so I gonna get a little bit personal, a little bit spiritual, but um, for me the big thing was just praying and really thinking about where I was at, and having just kind of a major experience, I think this week. And so I just want to encourage people, sometimes, well, a lot of times there's a lot of stuff going on. There are a lot of things that you're worried about, thing after thing after thing after thing after thing, causes you to get frustrated. Things just don't go your way, and you know, when that happens, take a minute to pray, take a minute to sit and think, take a minute to, really ponder what's going on, and whether you're religious or not, whether or not you have some, direct idea of how prayer is supposed to work, or meditation is supposed to work, or whatever, your quiet contemplation of whatever you do goes on, take a minute for it, take a few minutes for it, and see if you can find a quiet answer to that quiet or to that loud problem in your life.
I like that.
Cool. Awesome. All right, so next week, and Chuck, you said you're not going to be here next
I
week?
will not be here. I will be on a plane on the way back from Netherlands.
I'm on a boat, a flying boat.
Okay.
Yep.
Netherlands would be fun. I think that may be one of my exceptions for speaking is foreign countries. But even then, it'll have to meet some of the other criteria that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Talk to you
All
next
right.
week.
See you guys.
See ya.